Darrel Dicken has been a pro now for over 5 years, and he has earned more than $1.5 million in tournaments alone. Card Player caught up with Dicken to talk about deep stack tournament play. Can you explain what qualifies as a deep stack tournament?
I think any event where the starting stack is 200 big blinds or more would be considered deep stack. Once you get into like the third level and the average stack is 100 blinds, then you know you're in a deep stack tournament.
How does deep stacked play differ from regular tournament play?
Deep stack play is different in such that you have to play it a lot more like a cash game because the chips actually are very close to equal dollar for dollar since there's no bubbles of money pay.
Should players play more hand at the beginning of these tournaments since they're starting with more chips? Should you loosen up?
Well, theoretically, you should tighten up the more chips you have, but basic intuition tells you that yes, you should open your starting range just so you can get involved with weaker players to get them to make mistakes against you. But in a theoretical true poker sense, you should be tightening up the more chips you have.
So is it beneficial to try to see cheap flops?
Well, for the better players, yes, definitely. The cheaper you can see a flop, the more you want to see.
If other players are raking in really big pots, should that incite you to play more hands so you can also start like raking in monsters?
Well, I mean, a lot of times you'll be sitting at the table and not be dealt a big hand, and then see around you other people get dealt big hands, and that's why the big pots are being played. If big pots are being played for other reasons, such as, I don't know, player A is making a lot of mistakes and putting a lot of chips in when he's not supposed to, then yes, I think you should open your starting range.
So how does patience come into play even more so than in a traditional tournament?
Well, because you're not forced to play, you can be dealt like a very long and ugly string of bad starting hands, and you have the chips to survive that. Well, in a normal tournament, you would just start shoving with bad cards anyway, but in a deep stack, you still have to realize that it's important to be patient and wait for what you need to open.
When is it ever the right move to go all in early in a deep stack tournament, or is it ever the right move to put all your chips on the line in one of the first few levels?
Yeah, of course, it's saying never is always a no-no in poker, but I mean, if you make the nuts and somebody's willing to put a lot of chips in with you, obviously, you're going to get all in, but
what about if you don't have the nuts, though, but you have a fairly good hand?
Other than that, I mean, you just have to be careful. If you're deep enough where you can get like 5 bets before going all in, you probably going broke without the nuts would be silly there. But in other situations, even in deep stack, you can get it. If you're playing on the turn card, you can get in and not always have the nuts. Just it's kind of a rare situation.
Is there a good way to play weak players in a deep stack tournament if you know you're better than the other players at the table?
Well, my strategy has always just been to get involved in as many pots with the weak players as possible. I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but that's how I do it.
How can you avoid overcommitting yourself to a pot early on?
Well, by making sure that you have position. The later position, if you act last, you're basically the person who gets to control the size of the pot. So just always make sure you're in position.
Should you consider yourself to be short stacked at a different point, say maybe 20 big blinds instead of 10 big blinds if it's a deep stack tournament?
Well, being short stacked is just a mindset. I mean, it's a very relative statement. A lot of people who I know who've been very successful for a lot of years play down to what most people consider a short stack and feel very comfortable playing that. So it's kind of hard to answer your question. No, I guess would be the short answer.
Why are deep stack tournaments better for better players?
Well, the more opportunities, you're going to play more hands. So that means the weaker players will have more opportunities to make mistakes. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's just, common sense kind of, I guess.
And what would be your best advice to a player about to play their first deep stack tournament?
I guess my advice to a person about to play his first deep stack tournament would be don't be afraid to open up and play a few more hands at the beginning because it's not really going to harm your stack in the long run. So let's just start practicing at that stage.